Hello everyone, I am Maisha Sahira. Before I get into the topic, I just want to share an interesting fact that I got to know about climate change. Do you know that the largest recorded tsunami in history was witnessed at Lituya Bay, Alaska in 1958? It is commented on as incredibly being as high as 1,720 feet, higher than some of the highest buildings like the Empire State Building. Moving on to an important topic which needs an urgent addressing that's affecting all of us, which is climate change and natural disasters. The urgency and complexity of climate change certainly cannot be overestimated. Its global effects are a profound nature connected with weather systems and natural disaster, and it requires a collective response to the problem together with increased resilience. In this presentation, we'll cover the causes, evidence, and impacts of climate change along with some solutions that can help us deal with these extremely pressing issues. Let us start with some background information. Climate change is gradual change over time in temperature and weather patterns, mainly being the result of human activities. Processes related to the burning of fossil fuel, cutting trees, and other industrial processes are a major emitters of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. They capture the heat and warm the planet. Moving on, what are the causes of climate change? What could be the reason why these happens? So let's discuss further ahead. Greenhouse gas emissions are a big contributor to global climate change. These result from the combustion of fossil fuels and industrial processes. Deforestation and land use change also contribute significantly as forests act to absorb carbon dioxide from atmospheres. How do we know if climate change exists? What are the evidences? So the evidence of climate change speak to us from everywhere. For example, rising temperatures across the world, increasing frequency of extreme weather conditions, and sea level rise. All these indicators are indeed raising a red alert about our planet warming at an unprecedented scale. Sea level rising can occur because of thermal expansion, or it could be because of the ice melting. This happens because of the global warming. Why is it challenging to reverse the effects of climate change? Why does it exist? What are these challenges? So let's talk about the challenges of reversing these effects. Climate change presents many challenges. Rise in frequency and intensity of extreme weather events will have a far-flung socioeconomic repercussions, livelihood disruptions, infrastructural damages, health risks, and migration. The environmental and ecological effects like loss of biodiversity and ocean acidification are equally serious. Before moving forward, I would like to state an interesting fact about climate change. Do you know that 2023 was one of the hottest years on record globally, as assessed by NASA? It just goes straight to the point as to why we seriously need to talk about climate change and all the problems emerging from it. Now let's go back to talking about the rising frequency and intensity of extreme weather events. Extreme weather events like heat waves, droughts, hurricanes, storms, flood, and wildfires are becoming more common and more intense. These events pose serious threats to human life, property, and ecosystem. This is affecting us by physical aspects, it is affecting us mentally, it's causing depression, etc. Moving on, let's talk about the socioeconomic impacts that are happening due to the climate change and natural disasters. The socioeconomic impacts of climate change are huge. Livelihood disruption, infrastructural damage, and health risks are just few of one of those to be modulated. Climate change can also increase migration and displacement, further exacerbating social and economic instability. This is affecting everyone, and it's affecting parts of the nature, inhabitants, and everything else in the ecosystem. Now let us talk about the environmental and ecological impacts that are happening because of climate change and natural disasters. Environmental and ecological effects are of equal importance. We're witnessing the loss of biodiversity, disruption of services of ecosystem, and ocean acidification. These change the balance of our natural world and the services given by such. So, what is ocean acidification? Ocean acidification is the ongoing decrease in the pH of the oceans in Earth. Over the past 200 years, the rapid increase in anthropogenic carbon dioxide production has led to an increase in the acidity of the Earth's oceans. Marine scientists are concerned that the process of ocean acidification constitutes a threat to sea life and to the cultures that depend on the ocean for their food and livelihood. Increases in ocean acidity reduce the concentration of carbonate ions and the availability of aragonite, which is a significant source of calcium carbonate in seawater. Furthermore, the shells of some organisms, for example, the sea butterfly, which serve as food for krill and whales, dissolve substantially after only 6 weeks in such high acid environments. Now let's talk about the solutions. Even in the face of such challenges, solutions exist, even if it's for climate change and natural disasters. At first, we have mitigation. Mitigation strategies lower GHG emissions, and those of adaptation enhance resilience in view of climate impacts. International cooperation and policy frameworks drive collective action on many fronts. Mitigation involves energy use, transitioning to renewable sources, enhancing energy efficiency, decarbonization of industries, and sustainable agriculture. These will help reduce our carbon footprint and the pace of global warming. Moving on, let's talk about the adaptation strategies. Adaptation strategies involve enhancing early warning systems, upgrading infrastructure resilience, integrating climate risk assessments, and adopting ecosystem-based adaptation. They help communities in preparation and response to climate impacts. Which brings us to our last point, international cooperation and policy frameworks. Effective climate action requires cooperation at the international level and corresponding policy frameworks. In order to fight climate change at the global level, global climate agreements, multilateral funding and support, and science-based decision-making form the core of the global response. Now, how do we proceed and move forward with the information that we received right now? Which brings us to talk about the recommendations. At first, we have policy and governance recommendation. This talks about strengthening the climate governance means developing and enforcing robust policies pertaining to climate change. In the case of investments made in strengthening climate resilience, it entails the injection of resources into building adaptive capacity, whereas heightened awareness of climate issues foster a knowledgeable and proactive society. Moreover, we have research and innovation. Research in climate systems in particular may be advanced by the help of digital technologies provide in terms of new tools and solutions, from AI and climate modeling to blockchain for climate finance and IoT in disaster management. Additionally, we have community engagement and empowerment. Climate action needs to be just, it has to be build resilience with communities. The most crucial ingredient for a just transition will be the empowering of vulnerable countries together with the youth and intergenerational equity. Climate change and natural disasters are influenced by various factors, which include social and cultural impacts, technological innovations, economic consequences, gender and vulnerable groups, legal and policy frameworks, and education and capacity building. At first, we have social and cultural impacts. Preservation of cultural heritage and community resilience and adaptation are strong ways to handle climate change. Such communities could use traditional knowledge and practices to promote resilience. In addition, they can use technological innovations like AI in climate modeling, blockchain for financing of climate, and IoT in disaster management spell out new ways of handling the challenges of climate change. These technologies can leverage efforts at prediction, monitoring, and response. Moving on, we have economic effects of climate change. Economic consequences of climate change are to a great degree, but there are equally many opportunities for green growth. Strategies to enhance economic resilience include investment in sustainable infrastructure and promotion of green industries. Then comes the most vulnerable groups, which are the gender and inclusive approaches. Climate change disproportionately blights vulnerable groups like women and children and those from marginalized communities. Empowerment and inclusiveness of such groups in climate action is also known for its equitable outcomes. Then we have legal and policy frameworks. International climate agreements, national policies on climate change, and local action plans of climate action provide the legal and policy frameworks that shall serve as the drive for climate action. The frameworks help in coordinating efforts and ensuring accountability. Alas, we have education and capacity building. Climate education initiatives, professional training, and skill development, and public engagement are indispensable in building capacities on climate change adaptation. The better informed and engaged the communities would be, the more capable they would be to take action. Now let's talk about conclusions. What can we do? How are we supposed to do it? Why? All of these questions come in play. We need an urgent, coordinated action on climate change. It is required. While innovation and technology are critical enablers, social justice and equity must have a central role in our efforts if we are committed to a future of sustainability. And this is it for me and my presentation. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you.